Gammada. For the people, by the people, by the people.
A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Primetime News, coming to you live from our news studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudannaika. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
News First Headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
Strict laws on anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing. A statement from the President. Opposition leader challenges the President.
පුළුවන් නම් ජනාධිපතිවරණයක් තියලා බලාගන්න 150 තියෙන්නේ කාටද 150ට අඩුව තියෙන්නේ කාටද කියලා.
Minister defends controversial broadcasting regulatory bill. Opposition speaks about the severity of the proposed bill.
මේකට අනිවාර්ය සෝෂල් මීඩියා ඇතුළේ. මොකද කැබිනට් පත්‍රිකාවේ තියෙනවා සමාජ මාධ්‍ය. ගුවන්විදුලි නාලිකා සහ රූපවාහිනී නාලිකා විතරක් නෙමෙයි Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram ඇතුළු සමාජ මාධ්‍යත් මේකට ඇතුළේ.
Government has sufficient funds to hold the local government election. JVP to take the matter to court. 23 people who forcibly entered a building in Navamavata arrested. Price of a 12.5 kilogram litro gas cylinder reduced by 452 rupees. Indian Railways Minister says signal failure caused Odisha train disaster. Sri Lanka beat Afghanistan in second ODI.
Sharp fix and gone. Masaranga.
News First Headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
And now the stories in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that Sri Lanka's next country assessment on anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism will commence soon, and that this holds immense significance as it directly impacts the country's ease of doing business, rating and its ability to attract foreign investments. He made this statement addressing the National Law Conference yesterday.
Sri Lanka's next country assessment on anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism will commence soon. Sri Lanka's compliance in this area is a vital prerequisite in enhancing the ease of doing business rating and attracting foreign investments. It is necessary for Sri Lanka to address the gaps identified in our anti-money laundering and countering the finance of terrorism framework. Not addressing the gaps will have a potential risk of Sri Lanka being again identified as a country with strategic deficiencies. This should cause severe adverse impact to the economic development of the country. Addressing the gaps will support the government and anti-corruption framework, thus ensuring the successful implementation of the IMF program.
The President was speaking on a panel discussion on the role of the law in restoring economic stability on the second day of the National Law Conference held in Nuwara.
Member of the Cabinet Subcommittee that drafted the Broadcasting Regulatory Commission Act, Minister Manusha Nanakara, says that the act is not aimed at controlling journalists.
This Broadcasting Regulatory Commission is not an act brought to control journalists or someone else. When reporting news in this country, those who do report news must have some sort of responsibility on what they report. Some information are being circulated very responsibly. In the end, there is no one to accept responsibility. The Broadcasting Regulatory Commission Act is being brought to create a better media culture. There is no intention to control media institutions. Besides the internal rules and regulations self-imposed by these media companies, we are not going to control them in any way. We are not planning to impose such laws through the Broadcasting Regulatory Commission Act. This act will be able to give more value to the self-imposed rules and regulations of media institutions so that they can be more than a mere code of conduct. However, there is no final draft of this Broadcasting Regulatory Commission Act. Discussions are still going on. Viewers are being able to collect opinions on this matter and get proposals on it. All media institutions are joining in on the preparation of this draft, and they can present all facts regarding this. We are doing this with good intentions. I believe that the opposition should support this system change instead of creating false fears and instead of agitating the people.
Have you read the provisions mentioned in this proposed Broadcasting Regulatory Commission Act? According to the Minister of Justice, you too are a member of this Cabinet Subcommittee on the Broadcasting Regulatory Commission Act, along with Ministers Bandhana Gunawardena, Keliya Rambukwella and Nimal Siripala de Silva. According to the Minister of Justice, the proposed act was prepared by this subcommittee. There are two ex officio members in the Broadcasting Regulatory Commission. One is the Secretary to the Ministry of Mass Media and the other is the Director General of Telecommunications Regulatory Commission. The remaining three members of the commission are appointed by the President with the approval of the Constitutional Council. The chairman of the commission is appointed by the President. The President has the power to remove any member of the commission after simply notifying the Constitutional Council. This begs the question, is this commission really independent? Minister Manusha Nanayakara, have you read the clauses in the Broadcasting Regulatory Commission Act regarding the committee to investigate on complaints? These sections grant the power for the commission to break into media institutions that do not act according to the whims and fancies of the commission, file cases against journalists, imprison them, fine them, and cancel the license of media institutions as well. There is a provision in the proposed act that says the commission has the power to revoke the license of a media institution that does not report true and accurate information. Minister, where have the words true and accurate been interpreted? According to the statement of Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, you too are a member of the Cabinet Subcommittee that prepared this proposed act. But as it turns out, you have not even read this proposed act. This is a very serious proposal. You too were once a journalist. Minister, read this proposal well. According to this proposal, if the act is passed, electronic media will have to report news based on what the government says is true and accurate. Is this the system change that you expect will create a pure democracy?
The Frontline Socialist Party says that the proposed Broadcasting Regulatory Commission Act will destroy all democratic rights on freedom of expression.
All
government cronies have begun to post on social media saying that there is no draft and that it's a false fear that is being created. At the advisory committee meeting, the Secretary to the Ministry of Justice specifically told the members of the opposition that the draft bill has already been prepared. This draft bill has been prepared by a committee headed by Vijayadasa Rajapaksa. Section 2 of this bill states that a Broadcasting Regulatory Commission will be established. The President can remove any member of this commission by simply informing the Constitutional Council that he is removing them. The President will be sacking the members of the commission who does not do what he asks of them. The quorum is fulfilled with just 3 members, including the chairman, according to Section 10(1). 2 members of the 3 can vote and make decisions. There should be an interpretation of what misusing powers given to media institutions is. When there is no definition and these are left open-ended, they can suspend channels simply for reporting on a story against the government. Let's say that national security has been interpreted under the police ordinance. What is the interpretation of national economy? What do they mean when they say you cannot criticize the national economy? This is simply the government making way for them to suspend channels that are broadcasting news on the privatization of state-owned enterprises in the name of restructuring, the destruction of services such as education and health, depriving the farmers of their right to hold land, and the destruction of labor rights under the guise of a single labor law. Why else would they be talking about national economy and public security? Footage recorded by a media institution is not handed over to the police without an order from court. This commission that consists of loyalists to the President can come into media organizations at any time and take away videos and any form of information that they want. The situation is such that the president will be hearing the complaints himself. These channels can have their licenses revoked. The channel then has to reapply for license in 6 months. The 5-member commission appointed by the president has to decide on whether or not they will be getting this license. They can suspend any media organization that is operating right now. They are trying to control these institutions based on the whims and fancies of the president. When preparing the draft, they have been very careful and they have not interpreted the word broadcasting. They have left it blank to be filled in later when they bring it into parliament. This will include social media as well. The cabinet paper mentions social media. Not only media institutions, this will affect Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram and all other social media platforms.
The Jatika Jana Balavegya says the purpose of the proposed Broadcast Regulatory Commission Act is to suppress people's power to rally against the government.
They are trying to take away the people's democratic rights. Social media is a strong platform to express people's opinions. It is a medium that is essential to the freedom of expression and to conduct conversations on vital topics. They are attempting to suppress this medium through the Broadcast Regulatory Commission Act. All of us must oppose this act. These actions show how much the government is afraid of the people's mandate. The people's mandate is against them. These are attempts to stop the people's opinions from surfacing, the people uniting and this movement progressing towards another revolution. These are symptoms of an extremely cowardly government.
Any law that is put forward by the Rajapakshas who were chased away by the people and the henchmen of the port tour is not valid. Now they are preparing to bring in a Broadcasting Regulatory Commission Act. There are only a few media channels that are brave enough to oppose this government. All the other media networks have already submitted to the government. Therefore, they are bringing this act to submit other media groups, including social media, which they have no control over. This parliament has no mandate to establish regulatory commissions and create oppressive laws. This is what Ranil Wickremesinghe has said yesterday unintentionally. The people say this parliament has no legitimacy. The people have been fighting for that for over a year. Therefore, we will not accept any laws that is presented by this gang of thieves unless it comes from a parliament that has the people's mandate. We are fighting on the streets because of this. While allegations are being levelled regarding attempts to suppress the people through suppressing free media, civil organizations convened a media briefing and spoke about the arrests being made under the ICCPR Act that is meant to protect the civil and political rights of all citizens.
Unsuccessful governments have used the provisions in the ICCPR convention and are using it to control the opposition rising up against unsuccessful leaders. The incidents unfolding in the country right now, the arrests that are being made, shows how the government is experimenting on how this act can be used. This is wrong. The ICCPR Act was passed with the intention of protecting the people's civil and political rights. But today the right-thinking people in Sri Lanka wonder if this insurance that was given to the people has been robbed. We saw during the past that no one who incited disharmony among communities with the intention of securing power was arrested under the provisions of the ICCPR Act. No one who created divisions among the Muslims and Sinhalese while spreading the false claims of Sinhalese women being made infertile by a Muslim doctor. We would like to inform the officers at the Criminal Investigation Department who are misusing the ICCPR Act and are doing the bidding of politicians that we will have to file fundamental rights applications against you in the future.
Yesterday, President Ranil Wickremesinghe said even if all the parties in parliament unite, they cannot create a 50% voter base. Several parties, including the opposition leader, responded to the comment made by the president yesterday. He is saying that the people have no faith or need for an election. In reality, he dislikes the nation of an election because he knows the fate that awaits him. Now he is making astonishing remarks that the political parties in parliament don't even have 50% voter base in the country. How can the president say that? If he is to be so sure of it, I challenge the president to hold next year's presidential election towards the end of this year. If you manage to get the legal approval for it, we as the Samagi Jana Balawegaya will support you. We challenge you to hold the presidential election to find out who indeed has the 50% voter base. The very president, who is also the Minister of Finance, who did not release funds for the local government election, is deciding on his own that there is no need for elections and the youth of the country do not need elections. I would like to say that we are ready for any election.
මිත්‍රවරුනි අපි සූදානම් ඕනෑම මැතිවරණයකට.
The Janata Vimukti Peramuna says that if an election is held, the people will prove as to if or not one party can secure 50% of the mandate.
The president went to Nuwara and said that no single party can secure 50% of the mandate and that the people are not ready to vote like that. We would like to ask for the people to be allowed to vote. The claim that the government does not have money is a lie. This is the full report issued by the Ministry of Finance and the Treasury. According to this report, the money that is remaining by the 28th of February during that month alone is 63.13 billion rupees. There is a balance of 63.13 billion during the month of February. There is a balance of 21.41 billion rupees during the month of January. That means that when the Election Commission asked for 2.46 billion rupees to hold the election, the Treasury had a surplus of 84.27 billion rupees. This is according to their very own report. It is very clear that this claim that there is no money is completely false. They are undemocratically postponing elections and boasting that there is no need to hold an election. They are saying that the people are not asking for an election, and if an election is held, no one will be able to secure a 50% of the vote. Since they are saying this, we challenge them to hold the election. Hold the election and the people will show you if a party can secure 50% of the mandate. Also, during the next week, we will be filing a new case at the Supreme Court. We strongly stress to the government, stop these undemocratic actions immediately.
More local, international and sports stories come your way on the other side of this short commercial break. Stay with News First. We will be right back.
When a heart attack strikes, every minute makes the difference between life and death. With the right care and treatment at the hand of the most skilled surgeons and medical professionals. With the perfect environment for recovery. Darden's Heart Centre, dedicated to you.
Providing career guidance to younger people.
We use career key test to identify the potential.
Introducing a system that is able to collect accurate data.
Identify the trend of the labour market.
Maybe trimming down the state sector, but also allowing individuals that are in the state sector to be more versatile.
Reduce the unemployment and increase the employability of the country.
The People's Platform, every Monday and Friday at 7:30 p.m. on TV1.
This is where it's not a case of trying to give one priority over the other. We need to give priority to ourselves at this point.
The rules of the game has been designed by the Western world, whether we like it or not.
In African, Caribbean, Pacific countries as a major advisor. So I found even in those little pocky places, there was policy.
And have we further sort of made things worse for ourselves with some of our recent foreign policy tilts towards China?
And we sometimes fail to ask the question, who's pro-Sri Lanka? Who are the ones who are in the process of promoting Sri Lankan interests and what is in the best interest of this country?
Face the Nation, Wednesday nights at 9:30 on TV1.
Welcome back. Here with News First. Litro gas will reduce prices domestic gas cylinders from midnight today.
Litro Gas will reduce prices of domestic gas cylinders from midnight on Sunday. The new price of a 12.5 kilogram gas cylinder will be 3,186 rupees. A 5 kilogram gas cylinder will be priced at 1,281 rupees. The revised price of a 2.5 kilogram gas cylinder is 598 rupees. The main reasons for the price reduction are the drop in global gas prices, the strengthening of the rupee against the dollar, the country following sound economic policies. Also, we as a company have cut off non-essential expenses and spent on what is only necessary, and it is as a result of all of this that the people are enjoying the benefits of these measures.
23 suspects have been arrested on the charges of forcibly entering a building at Navamawatha in Kumpanavidya and damaging its property. Police media spokesperson, Senior Superintendent of Police Attorney at Law Nihal Talduwa stated that the suspects are residents of provinces outside Colombo.
This building, located at Navamawatha in Kompanividya, has 9 floors. It is reported that a group of outsiders damaged the 4th, 6th and 7th floors of the building last night. Eyewitnesses say that apart from the people who entered the building, there were other people around the building.
Around 20 people came around at 11 p.m. last night. Around 20 people entered the elevator. Once they went up, around 40 people stood guard outside the building. They then went to the 6th floor, stopped the elevator and took over the offices till around 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. Thereafter, the police arrived and escorted all of them down. We conducted a search. They had done damage to a lot of property, including the air conditioners. Offices on the 6th, 7th and 4th floors were all damaged.
The consular offices of the state of Cyprus are also located in this building. The administrative director of the building expressed the following views.
They were sitting around the office spaces without their shirts and engaging in inappropriate behavior. I noticed that some of them were intoxicated. The police arrived, questioned them and evicted them from the premises around 5 a.m. Around 25 people were there at the time. The 25 of them were arrested and taken into custody. But when they arrived, there were about 60 people here.
Early landslide warnings have been issued to the Badulla, Gaul and Kalathura districts due to the prevailing adverse weather.
The National Building Research Organisation has issued landslide warnings to the Passara Divisional Secretariat in the Badulla district, Nagoda and LPD Divisional Secretariats of the Gaul district, Walallavita, Agalawatta and Bulat Sinhala Divisional Secretariats of the Kalathura district. Issuing a weather advisory, the Met Department said the southwest monsoon is likely to gradually establish across Sri Lanka during the next few days. Showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamuwa and central provinces and in the Gaul and Mathura districts. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters are likely at some places in the Sabaragamuwa province and in the Gaul, Mathura and Kalathura districts. Showers or thunder showers may also occur in the western, Sabaragamuwa and central provinces.
The Mihikata Sanrakshana Mihintala Oath was launched this morning. The oath was launched in line with World Environment Day that falls tomorrow. This program, organized by Sirasa TV, was held at the historic sacred site of Mihintalawa.
The Mihintalawa sanctuary is considered as the first sanctuary in the world. Sri Lanka went through a cultural revolution with the introduction of Buddhism by a group of delegation led by Arahat Mahinda in 236 BC. Arahat Mahinda called out to King Tissa at that time and told him, as the head of state, he is only the protector of the environment and not the owner of it. The launch of the Mihintala Oath was done with the intention of preserving this sanctuary where many important incidents had taken place for future generations. CEO of MTV, Attorney Susara Dinal, CEO of Stein Studios, Chandana Surya Bandara, and Director of Sirasa TV, Dharmashri Ekanayaka, attended the event. The Mihintalawa Sanrakshana Mihintala Oath was launched by CEO of MTV, Attorney Susara Dinal.
මානව වර්ගයාගේත් සමස්ත සත්ව වර්ගයාගේත් මිහිතලයේත් ආරක්ෂාව ගෞරවය සහ සංරක්ෂණය උදෙසා සදාතනිකව
for the protection of the human race, all animals and the Mihintalava sanctuary to take an oath for the conservation and protection of the environment and for the active participation of all communities in spreading the message across the world. The Mihintala oath is launched to the general public from the first documented sanctuary in the world, the Mihintalava sanctuary.
ලිඛිතව ස්ථාපනය කරන ලද මිහින්තලාවේ සිට මෙම මිහිතලය සුරැකීම සඳහා වූ මිහින්තලා ප්‍රතිඥාව ගෞරව බහුමානයෙන් යුතුව ජනගත කෙරෙන වගයි.
Many programs are to be launched under the Mihikata Sanrakshana Mihintala oath, and they are to be organized by Sirasa TV.
පරිසර සංරක්ෂණය පිළිබඳ වූ මිහින්තලා ප්‍රඥප්තියේ කෙටුම් පත අද සිට ඔබට බාරයි.
Meanwhile, many religious activities were organized at the Mihintalava sacred site in line with the Poson Poya. Devotees continued to pour into the Atamastana sacred site, Mihintalava, and Solosmastana in Polonnaruwa.
The Damsaviya Poson zone continued today as well, centering around the Magastota Sri Senanandaramaya in Nuwara. Devotees who arrived to this Poson zone, which will continue until the 5th of June, will have the rare opportunity to pay homage to the sacred relics as well. The Sambuddha Puja was performed on the sacred relic in the afternoon under the auspices of the Mahasangha along with many devotees. The group director of the Capital Maharaja Group and leader of the Gammadda movement, Shevan Daniel, and several others attended this event. The sacred relics were brought to the Damsaviya Poson zone from the Sri Paramananda temple in Gaul. At the end of the 19th century, the king of Siam had donated this sacred relic to Sri Lanka. A special Dharma discussion was also held this afternoon with the visit of Rajakiya Pandita Most Venerable Hasalaka Sila Vimalathero in conjunction with the Poson zone. A discussion was held under the title Buddhism, Youth and Leadership. Nuwara is an area inhabited by people belonging to different religions and races. A unique opportunity was granted to people of all religious and racial backgrounds to worship the sacred relics at the Damsaviya Poson zone. Along with the Poson zone, spectacular pandals, lanterns and bhaktigi as well as dansal have been organized around the Gregory Lake in Nuwara. Meanwhile, the Sirasa Namami Poson zone, which is being organized at the Depanama Transmission Center, continued to the second day today. Many special events, including displaying a replica of Mihintale and lanterns, Bhaktigi performances, dansal and a digital pandal, are part of the Sirasa Namami Poson zone.
The Poson Mahaperahara, organised by the Alutwala Young Men's Buddhist Association for the 50th time, took to the streets last afternoon. The procession, which began at the ancient Nandarama temple in Alutwala Gaul, included Udarata, Pahatarata and Sabragamu dancers.
අපිට සතුටුයි මේ පෙරහැර මංගල්‍යයේ නැරඹීම සඳහා පිළිගන්නවා අපි මේ සියලු කටයුතු වලට ගමන් මාර්ගයක් ගමන් කරන්නට අනාගතය ගැන කිසිදු සැකයක් නැහැ මේ නර්තන ශිල්පීන් ශිල්පිනියන් දැක්කහම ඉතින්
Moving on to news overseas, India's railway minister has suggested signal failure led to the Odisha rail disaster, with a change in electronic interlocking the likely cause. The minister later said the cause and people responsible for the deadly 3-train crash in eastern India had been identified but gave no details. Meanwhile, the death toll has been revised down to 275 after some bodies were counted twice, officials said. Of the 1,175 injured people taken to hospital, 793 have been discharged.
The crash saw a passenger train derail after colliding with a stationary goods train with another passenger train travelling in the opposite direction, then striking derailed carriages. In railway signalling, the electronic interlocking system sets routes for each train in a set area, ensuring the safe movement of trains along the track. India has one of the largest train networks in the world, with millions of passengers using it daily. But a lot of the railway infrastructure needs improvement. India's railway minister's comments come after the Southeastern Railway also blamed signal failure. The minister also said one of the main line tracks had now been restored. President Ranil Wickremesinghe conveyed his heartfelt condolences to the Prime Minister and the people of India following the tragic multiple train collision in Odisha state. A number of global leaders, including the US President Joe Biden, Chinese President Xi Jinping, the President of France Emmanuel Macron, the Prime Minister of Japan Fumio Kishida, and the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom Rishi Sunak have expressed their condolences regarding the rail accident. Most Venerable Banagala Upatisatera, President of the Mahabodhi Society of Sri Lanka, Chief Sanganayaka of Japan, Chief Priest Lankaji Temple, Japan, and Chief Priest Sanchi Chetiyagiri Viharya, India, has expressed his condolences regarding the rail accident in Odisha. The Most Venerable Thera said that he was deeply saddened by this tragic accident. The Most Venerable Thera went on to say, quote unquote, "My thoughts go out to the victims of this tragic train accident, their loved ones, and the people of India in this time of sorrow."
Taking a look at another one of our local stories, the 2023 Freedom Pride Parade began from Vihara Mahadevi Park in Colombo today.
The parade was organized in line with Pride Month and to celebrate democracy and speak up for rights of LGBTQI+ community in Sri Lanka. The parade began in 2022 and is continuing for the second consecutive year.
The amendment to the penal code, which decriminalizes LGBT people at the moment, won't be unconstitutional. So this is a huge victory to the LGBT people, and particularly the Supreme Court judgment talks about our dignity, our equal rights, and our right to privacy. We are overwhelmed by that opportunity.
The West is so advanced. I'm coming from France, so I know what I'm speaking about. But actually, I feel like for me, Sri Lanka is more advanced. I feel that it's much more easy for me to be queer in Sri Lanka than it is to be in France. Yeah.
I'm here celebrating Pride Month in Sri Lanka. All around the world, we celebrate June month as LGBTQIA+ Pride. So we are celebrating this. We are doing the same in Sri Lanka, and we are all coming together in peace and harmony, celebrating this amazing month together. So happy Pride.
LGBT rights are human rights. We all are equal human beings, regardless of our sexual orientation, gender. We are human beings at the end of the day. So we all deserve human rights.
We're here to just celebrate us, who we are, our sexualities, our gender, all of our various identities, and just to be human. That's all we ask for from the government. Just treat us as human beings and not something different and like some extraordinary powers. That's not what we're asking for. We all just want to love and just be ourselves. That's all we ask for.
The Pride Month, which started in 1970, has still been going on. What is Pride and what is a month of Pride? In 1970, in the month of June, it was the first time in USA that the Pride Month took place, where they openly talked about Pride. Now, they don't have to worry about their sexuality, their identity, and today in Colombo, you can see that we are celebrating Pride Month done by the Generation Pride. Reporting for the News First team, this is Kenza Farooq along with cameraman Varuna Sampath.
And in sports news, the Sri Lankan team recorded their 400th victory in ODI cricket today, winning the second ODI with the visiting Afghanistan team by 132 runs.
After winning the toss in the match held at the Mahinda Rajapaksa International Cricket Stadium in Hambantota, Sri Lankan captain Dasun Shanaka decided to bat first. Accordingly, Dimuth Karunaratne started the Sri Lankan innings with Pathum Nissanka. Dimuth Karunaratne scored the 7th half-century in his ODI career. Kusal Mendis, who brought Sri Lanka to the top of the scoreboard, scored 78 runs with his 21st ODI half-century. Wanidhu Hasaranga, who played a fast innings in the last few overs, scored 29 not out. At the end of the scheduled 50 overs, Sri Lanka scored 323 runs for the loss of 6 wickets. Ibrahim Zadran and Rahmanullah Gurbas opened Afghanistan's response. Dushmantha Chamira, who was called to the team after some time, managed to remove Rahmanullah Gurbas from the field for 2 runs. Ibrahim Zadran scored 54 points. Hashmatullah Zahidi scored 57 runs. Dhananjay De Silva, who showed skill, took 3 wickets for 39 runs. Wanidhu Hasaranga took 3 wickets for 42 runs. Dhananjay De Silva was crowned as the man of the match. With this win, the 3-match series was tied at 1-all.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.